to be used of you. In Jesus' name, we'll start the video and go straight from there. Thank you.
Now therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto a holy temple in the Lord, in whom ye also are builded together for a holy habitation of God through the Spirit. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 24 to 27. Therefore, whosoever heareth these words of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house. And it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Early in his ministry, right after choosing his disciples, Jesus sat down on a mountainside and began to teach his disciples. In his discourse on the Mount of Olives, he taught them what we now know to be the Beatitudes. He gave concepts and truths on how to be happy. He also taught them how to overcome temptation, how to be successful, and many other valuable life lessons. He concludes his teaching by summing up with one final challenge, that all these principles of blessings can only be achieved if you put them into action. And to illustrate this, he shares with them a story of two men building houses. Both men used the same material, both built in the same geographical location, but only one of the houses stood while the other man's house collapsed. The difference was in the foundation. One built upon the rock, the other built on the sand. And the question that comes readily to mind is, why would anyone spend their hard-earned money to build a house on the sand? The subtle difference can only be understood within the cultural context of the time and the place that the heroes lived. You see, in Palestine, all land becomes parched in the summer, causing even the sandy, unstable areas to appear rock solid. The rain in Palestine would pour down, causing flash flooding. The true test doesn't come until the rain falls. So Jesus here is saying in his teaching, be careful where you build your house. Build on something tried and true. Build upon the rock. Who is the one who builds his house upon the rock? The one who hears it, the one who hears the word of the Lord and does it, the one who hears and takes action. Who is the one who builds on the sand? The one who hears the word of the Lord but doesn't do them. James chapter 1 and verse 22 says this, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. Let us not erroneously conclude that because we hear and agree with truth, that we are automatically practicing truth. But if after you hear the word, you fail to apply the word, you are a foolish builder, and it's only a matter of time before your house collapses. But a wise man not only hears the words of the Lord, but puts the word of the Lord into practice, and his house stands when the storm comes. There are three principles outlined in our text that if you will follow the blueprint and build according to God's design, you will be guaranteed to stand firm when the winds come. You will be built to last.
All right, we will be talking about Built to Last for the next 4 weeks. And looking around, I'm taking a survey here in my mind. I see one other person that I know of for sure that has worked in construction. By show of hands, okay, I wasn't even thinking about, I was looking at your dad, actually. Sorry. Because what I was thinking was framing. I wasn't necessarily thinking, but construction trades in general, you start to see a lot of what we're going to talk about, Brother Frazier. I know you're in plumbing as well, so you're familiar with construction stuff. Okay. All right. Okay. So we've got some folks with an understanding of construction. We're going to talk a lot about construction and foundations, and because that's really what this whole series is about. And I hope to be able to draw the parallel back to the Word and what He means. You know, Jesus taught in stories. He told parables. It's why He talked about building your house. He's telling a story about construction to make the point. You know, so I'm just going to do the same thing in 2026 terminologies, and we'll get there. So if you've not been in here before when I have taught, I like to just go back to the Scripture, and I like to go word by word through what each verse says. I think there is so much value in every little word. The Bible talks about every jot and every tittle. It's not any part of the ancient scripts that were written. Every little mark on the page had meaning. And so for me, I like to do the same. I want to go back into it. I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into what is going on there. So let's just start at Ephesians 2, chapter 2, verse 19. And Ephesians is just little groundwork here, just make sure we're all on the same page. Ephesians is letter by Paul to the church in Ephesus. There's the groundwork, okay? We'll go from there. All right, everybody's good with that? Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God. Next verse. And are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. So we're already referencing foundation, chief cornerstone. We're already talking about, this is almost as though it's alluding to or speaking on the same topic of the parable that Jesus talked about, the man that built his house on the foundation versus the sand. Paul did that a lot. He would reference back to a lot of different things, and it's almost as though he would pass over them real quickly, and if you didn't go back and kind of study it a little deeper, you might not catch that he was referring to some other event that had already happened. He's just kind of bringing your thoughts back to it. Next verse. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. So if you build your house on a rock, you're wise. If you don't, pick your terms. I'll let you say it however you want to. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded. Hang on. Are we still in Ephesians 19? We missed some verses in Ephesians 19, 20, 21, 22. We didn't go through all those. Sorry. It's my fault. I probably did I tell you the wrong verses? I did, didn't I? No? Did I say 19 and 20? I meant 19 through 22. Many apologies. There we go. Let's go back to 20 so that I can remember where I was at, because I don't remember the last thing I said. And are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. Verse 21. In whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord. And lastly, verse 22, in whom ye also are builded together for an habitation of God through the Spirit. Okay, so Paul's laying this out. He's setting that foundation that we have to build on this foundation. Okay, let's go straight to Matthew chapter 7, 24 through 27. Hopefully I gave you the right verses on this one. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And verse 25, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Stay right here just a second. Sorry. The rain descended, the floods came, the winds blew, beat upon the house. You can describe lots of different storms with everything that he just said. So in Oklahoma, we get all of those. We call them thunderstorms that then turn into tornadoes, and they will beat upon your house and flip buildings over if they're not built on a firm foundation, and rip roofs off, and you'll be out of school for 2 weeks. And that's what's going on in Beggs right now. So, Caden's been out of school. He's terribly upset by it too. And they beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. So next verse now, 26. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. Next verse. Last one in Matthew here. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Leave that up there for just a second. There's almost as though Matthew is alluding to, not only was this man a fool and built his house on the sand, but he built a big house. He spent all his time and focus and money on this great. If this is great was the fall of it, that doesn't tell me that this was an 8x10 shack that you put your lawnmower in. This was not a little building that he ordered off of Temu and had it shipped in and set it on the sand in his backyard. It says great was the fall of it. This guy spent all of his money, all of his efforts, all of his energies on the stuff that everybody was going to see. Let that sit in for a second. He was more worried about what you thought about his house than whether or not his house was going to stand when the trials came against it. Okay? To me, there's a lot of concepts that can be drawn from the Word, and I don't think I'm adding to or taking from. I am extrapolating out what the story is saying. Great was the fall of it. I've got a little building behind my house right now. I didn't build it. Somebody built it probably 100 years ago. It's stacked block, and it's like 10 foot by maybe 20. I've never measured it because I just want to tear the thing down. It's a piece of junk. And then the wind blew, and it fell down anyway. And so now I have a 4-post building with walls that have fallen on top of all of my stuff, all this concrete block that's fallen in, and it's just enough that I can squeeze my lawnmower in there so it doesn't get rained on. This was not a well-built structure is what I'm getting at. And although it was stacked concrete blocks, there's no rebar in it. There's nothing. They just stacked a bunch of blocks. Well, the wind blew and it just fell right over. And it was not a great fall, by the way. I probably didn't help it in the fact that like 3 days after we moved in, I cut down a tree and the tree fell on the roof of that building. Okay, but we weren't going to talk about that. But I did kind of help the building along a little bit. The roof permanently does this now. But whatever. Let's go to James. I'll stop talking about my dilapidated structure. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. We talked about this 2 weeks ago a little bit in War Paint. Those of you that were at our men's group on that Monday night, we were talking about there arose a generation that knew not God. And to me, this verse goes straight into that. Doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own self. Doers of the word, they know the word. They understand the word. Hearers of the word. Excuse me, I got them out of order. Hearers of the word. They've heard it. They understood it. They might have studied it. They might know everything there is to know about it. But they just know the letters on the page. That's a generation that arose that knew not God because they don't have the relationship. That's the doer of the word. And so the doer of the word is somebody who spends that intimate time with God. You have developed a relationship on your own terms with that foundation, that chief cornerstone. That's where this entire lesson is going, is in drawing us back to him. Why do we talk about foundations? Why are we talking about buildings and how buildings fall when the wind blows, and the foolish man built his house on the sand, and the wind came and the rain came, and nothing lasted out of that storm because he had no proper foundation. He built on sand. To all of those who raised their hand a little earlier, and we talked about any construction knowledge or time spent in construction, sand can be a very important part of construction. It is certainly not your foundation. However, it can be deceiving at times too. I don't know if any of you have ever been somewhere where sand has gotten completely hard packed just from being cooked in the sun and water and sun and water, and then all of a sudden you think you've got a really firm packed surface. He talked about it in the video during certain seasons in Palestine where the land just gets scorched. And it seems very stable. It seems like a great sturdy foundation and structure to build something on. But the reality is that's you're literally building on the surface. And that's where the problem is with foundation. When you just build something on the surface, everything that comes across the surface, that building is now subject to. Your relationship with God, if it is built on the surface, is now subject to and likely to be destroyed by every single time the wind blows. Every time a raindrop hits your windshield and you just come unglued because now you can't see, and then your windshield wiper broke and it doesn't wipe the rain off, and you're having a meltdown over one tiny little thing because there's no foundation. I do have a car that has no windshield wipers, okay? I just drive and look for the clear spot, We'll get through this storm like all the rest. I don't care. One of these days, I'm going to fix the windshield wipers on that old truck. Otherwise, I go to the feed store when it's not raining. I mean, it's just the truth, okay? And so, but the wise man built on the firm foundation, and it refers to the chief cornerstone. And for those, again, who have some familiarity with construction, just bear with me. I'm going to kind of explain some of this in some relatively simple terms. But the chief cornerstone, if you have ever had the opportunity to, or if you get one in the future, I urge you to take the time. If you drive past a construction site, it's not as common anymore. It used to be a lot more common to see actual stack block buildings, masonry buildings. So in the architectural world, we call them CMUs, concrete masonry units. That is not a cinder block. Do not ever tell an architect that that's a cinder block. He will not like you very long. It's a concrete masonry unit. And they would build those, and it's incredible to watch this process play out. And the guys that do this are so fast and so good at what they do. But the chief cornerstone, if you don't set that first stone, every other stone that gets placed, every other CMU, every other block is aligned with that block. That becomes your guiding point, if you will. They pull their strings and their lasers and all that off of this one first block. Now they have to get all of the coordinates, GPS coordinates and everything, so that this building is set exactly where it's supposed to be. And roughly 15-ish, almost 20 years ago now, when I did work in the architectural world, we had a building that a general contractor built, and it was 2.5 feet off of where it was supposed to be built. Our parking lots didn't fit. The flower beds, every element of this entire site did not fit. And we tried to redesign the site and redo everything. We had to tear the whole slab up. This was a Walgreens store. This was not a small slab. The entire thing had to be torn up and moved over 2.5 feet. Why did you have to tear the whole thing up? Just put 2.5 feet on this side, cut 2.5 feet off that side. No, all the plumbing was off. All of the electrical was off. Everything was wrong because they didn't align themselves with that right first point. Okay, so the point is that chief cornerstone that we're talking about, of course, in this case, we're talking about Jesus Christ. But to draw that illusion back to construction, everything that gets built, that chief cornerstone has to be in the right place, has to be the right stone. There's a lot of stones out there that people are calling the cornerstone that ain't the cornerstone. I'll just go ahead and say it. You need to make sure that the cornerstone is really the cornerstone and not some sandy block that some kid out there with his, play school, sand block maker thing, and he set it up. That's not the cornerstone. It won't last. If we don't have the right foundation, we're not going to make it. He has already said, I'm that cornerstone. Build on me. I am your foundation. I am everything that you need. And yet we still go out into the world and we look for, but I like this, or I want that, or, I want the next shiny thing, or I'll pick on my men. I want that next job that's got a little bit more pay, and they're going to respect me a little more, and we chase that next thing, and we all do it. We all do it in our own way. Okay, so don't look at me and go, I don't know what he's talking about because I've never done that in my life. We all do it. Because the world is fighting. The enemy is fighting for every one of us. And he would love nothing more than for every one of us to get just distracted enough to come right in here and park yourself on a chair every Sunday and think we got it all figured out, and all the while we're building this thing on sand. And the enemy's like, oh, they think it's good. They think it's good. Storm's coming. And next thing you know, it all falls apart. And what happens when it all falls apart? We're mad at God now. We're not mad at the fact that we built on the wrong foundation or no foundation at all. We're not upset at ourselves for our inability to be disciplined enough to seek after him and to be devoted and consecrated to him and grow in our relationship with him and to continue to build on that foundation. We're mad at God. It's his fault. It's not his fault. We don't understand why all these things are happening, and all the while he's saying, if you just, I've been talking to my wife a lot about this. I've talked to several different people. This is something that's just been on my heart a lot. The Lord is dealing with me about yokes and burdens. I don't know why, but it's just something that he's kind of got me wrestling with right now. Because as a man, I want to just, I can handle this. I can do this. That's not what God told us to do. He not one time. Now, he didn't tell me to go lay down and put my feet up, get me a nice cold bottle of water, quench my thirst, and wait on him to show up and do everything. I do need a drink, though. But that's not what he said. He said, take my yoke. You got yourself yoked up with the world. You got yourself yoked up with your job. You're yoked up with your friends, your hobbies, your addictions, your whatever. You're yoked up with everything else. Why? My burden is light, and it's easy. And we go, well, I've tried this whole living for God thing, and I don't. Nobody ever said that living for God was easy. Let's put two things on base level side by side. You can live for God. You can live for the world. Newsflash, neither one of them is going to be easy. However, when we choose to live for God, we have his yoke. He says, I will carry that burden. You put my yoke on, guess what? You get to walk with me. Over here, it's rough. I've been there and done that. I wasn't raised in this. I am speaking from experience right now. I'm not just chirping from a place of no knowledge whatsoever. When we walk in the world and everything starts to fall apart, who do we turn to? We turn to other people in the world who everything is falling apart. We turn to other people who are dealing with the same struggles that we are. But when we come over here and we say, I'm going to take on his burden, his yoke, we are now putting our faith in that chief cornerstone. We're back on that foundation, right? And there has to be, there's varying levels of foundation, right? If I brought in the youngest, where's Emma at? She's probably hungry because that's all that child does is eat and sleep. but she's almost 4 months old. Her foundation to hold her up right now is very small. Doesn't take much. We're still talking construction, okay? So a foundation to hold up your BMX bicycle can be a brick. Put your kickstand on the brick. It holds the bike up. It's a good foundation. It's good enough for that little bike. Things grow, and you become a larger structure, if I can continue along the lines of the construction analogy. It takes more depth. You can't just set a brick on the surface and build everything on top of that. There's got to be some depth. So then my mind started going, well, this is a really interesting concept. I want to do a little digging. I want to see. And when you guys think of incredible structure, I wonder what the foundation's like. What's the first thing you think of? Somebody shout it out. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Yell it loud, I'm deaf. Not everybody at once. Thank you. It's like there's no way there's not at least one person that's going to say the Burj Khalifa. So I took it upon myself to do a really in-depth study. I just want you guys to know, really in-depth study. It's called a simple Google search, and it took me a long time. But when I think of something that's got to have an incredible foundation, the first thing that came up was Burj Khalifa. Like, it's the tallest building in the world. Foundation of the Burj Khalifa goes 164 feet below ground. It's a pile foundation system, 192 reinforced concrete piles. Each pile is 5 feet in diameter. The piles extend roughly 140 to 164 feet deep. And on top of that, is a 12-foot thick concrete slab. So that's quite a foundation. That's not the kind of foundation that they just thought, well, we happen to be out here in the middle of the desert and everything is actually sand. Let's just slap the tallest building in the world right on top of the desert floor. No. You read a little further in the information I got, they had to go to bedrock. In that area, it was 164 feet deep. That's why they're that tall. They had to go down and anchor this building into bedrock. Couldn't build it on the soft stuff. Then I thought, what's another really cool, iconic structure that has to have an incredible foundation to be able to accomplish? I'd love it if somebody got this one too, but I'll give you a shot. Throw it out there if you want. Nobody's even like, no, we're not even going there. Okay, well, fine. What'd you say? You're close. It's a span structure that I was thinking. That is actually, I didn't think of that one. The Golden Gate Bridge was the next one that came to my mind. I thought, that's got to have an incredible, anybody been to the Golden Gate Bridge? Any of you take the little boat tour where you go out and you drive around and you go under the bridge, and nobody did that? Anybody? Nobody? So I did that. We were working a job out there. This was in, I think it was 99 or 2000. It was a long time ago. It might have even been in the 1900s. Say it ain't so. But we were working out there, and we had the weekend. We were stuck in the San Francisco area. And so it was like, we got to go experience, San Francisco Bay and Alcatraz and all these things. So we took the boat, and you go under this bridge, and it is unbelievably huge. And it's longer. You've seen it in promo shots, and there was shows back in the 90s. What was it, Full House? They're driving across the bridge. Don't shame me because I said Full House. I was a kid too. And they're driving. They make it look small, okay? It doesn't seem as impressive as it is. You get out there and you're in a boat that's holding 200 people, and you're like a speck next to the size of this bridge. It's absolutely unbelievable. So, the foundation of the Golden Gate Bridge, the South Tower, which is on the San Francisco side, built on land, goes 110 feet down to bedrock. The North Tower, which is on the Barron side, is built in open water. The water depth at that side is 90 feet. The foundation extends down 300 feet below the water's surface, 210 feet into the seabed below the bay floor, the foundation of the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, it was, go watch the documentaries. People died making this bridge in the process of setting the foundation for it. And then, of course, once they were building the span, people fell off of it because back then there was no OSHA. They didn't care. They didn't tie off. They just walked across stuff. These were men of a different era. Rather impressive. The point I'm getting at, though, is I just gave you the example of two different structures that in order to function the way that they were designed to function, hear what I'm saying, the Golden Gate Bridge would not function properly without the foundation. Now, you probably already know where I'm going with this, but let's go ahead and go there. You will not function properly in the way that you were designed by God to function if you don't have the right foundation. Your foundation cannot be surface level. Now I'm going to break it down to where we live, and we'll just stop talking about construction. We'll talk about the Lord. We'll talk about us. It's going to get personal. Hang on. We'll get there. It's okay. So I'm talking to me as much as I'm talking to anybody else. I cannot have a surface level walk with God. Footprints in the sand. You better have footprints on a foundation. I love the footprints in the sand concept. Yes, he always walks with you. He does always walk with you. You better make sure that your life is built on that rock. Because let me tell you something, storms are going to come. Young people, I don't know how many times you've been out here since we've been teaching this. You got a little bit, but you're still young enough. I can still call you young people. Life's going to be rocky. The wind will come. And guess what? When the wind shows up, it blows hard. And it seems like it's just unrelenting. Let me just talk to you a little bit. You're going to find times in your life where you question whether or not it's worth it. Oh my goodness, did he just say that? Yes. You will question at times in your life whether this life is worth living. And I'm not just talking about church. I'm talking about, I'll use the right terminology, I'm talking about breathing on this planet. You will find times in your life, every one of you have experienced this. Adults, help me out here. We're trying to talk to our next generation. You will find times in your life where now I'm not saying everybody follows through with it, but you're going to question, why am I doing this? Is this really worth it? Nobody'd really care if I was ever even here. What is it? The winds will come. The storms will be there. The floods, you're going to be up to here, and then the flood will even go over your mouth, and you'll be trying to tilt your head back to breathe through your nose because it's all you got left. It's going to happen. I'm getting some head nods from some adults that I know have been through some stuff. And I'm not saying that you guys haven't been through some stuff, but I'm telling you, just don't think just because you become an adult, you get to move out, live in your own house, get your own apartment, do your own thing, that all of a sudden all of it stops. It doesn't get better. The only thing that makes it better is the foundation. That's what allows you to weather the storm. You don't weather the storm with no foundation. You crumble in the storm with no foundation. And I didn't intend to just go into the whole conversation with young people, but I see you there, and you guys are the future of this church, of this movement, this organization, our next generation, largely in the world that we live in, is not building on a foundation right now. Now, we've got some wonderful young people within this church. I'm talking about the world in general. The world in general will try to convince every one of you, the youth back there, the young, that convince you that you don't need all this stuff. And I'm here to tell you, I already said it a little bit earlier, but I walked the road of I don't need all this stuff because I didn't know any better. Wasn't raised in this. And the only reason that I can even say that I'm still here breathing today is because God saw fit and had enough mercy and loved me enough to walk my rear end into a church and introduce me to his truth and that foundation. Because I was on the fast track. I don't like to do anything halfway. We're just going to fast track it. I might be sloppy in my approach, but I'm full pedal on the gas. We're going to go. And that's just how I've always lived my life. I've just 100 miles an hour all the time. I sit down for 2 seconds, and then my mind starts going, I got to go do something else. Michelle's like, I think I want to take a nap. You want to take a nap? Nope, I can't take a nap. And then I'll lay down. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take a nap. And then I get back up, and I'm like, I can't take a nap. It's just how my life has always been. And I was going to run my life full speed into a brick wall. A brick wall that was going to consume me, not just a brick wall that was going to give me a headache. We have to have this foundation in our life. And just because let I'm going to talk to the adults for the last 2 minutes. Just because we've been walking in this thing for a long time. Just because, there's a company out there called Ramjack. Why do they exist? Because foundations crack sometimes. Sometimes foundations need a little boost. Sometimes we need to realign the foundation. We need to make sure that the house we're building is still anchored properly to that foundation. Don't think that you can set it and forget it. This is not Ron Popeil's, whatever that thing's called. This is not, once saved, always saved. Listen, you have to daily go back to that. The Bible talks about being crushed against that cornerstone, against that rock. We have to daily do the maintenance on the foundation. That's your prayer time. That's your devotional time in the Bible, your reading of the Word. That's that daily foundational maintenance. It's not the stuff that people see. How many people just drive around and go, look at that foundation under that building? You can't see it. It's underground. There's depth to the foundation. And the Bible talks a lot about it. Your whole building will fall without the right foundation. You have to have some depth in your life. We're going to keep talking about this. Stand with me. We are on time. We're not out of time. We're on time. We're going to pray quickly, then we'll take about a 10-minute break. I believe the 5 minutes deal starts in about 4 minutes, the 5-minute timer, so about 9 minutes. Grab yourself a coffee, restroom break, whatever you need to do. Lord, we're thankful that we just have an opportunity to be in your word, Lord, to draw closer to you, to understand on a deeper level what it is you desire from us, God. We ask that you lead us, guide us every step that we take, Lord, that we would be walking in your light, God, that we would be following after your spirit, the things that you desire of us, God. Help us to draw closer to you every single day.